Hello there, and welcome to another Wine Steward video. It's such an honor to be watched, usually. At any rate, thank you for watching these videos. This is another way of our getting the word out. Some people read, some people watch, some people do both. In a few minutes after I finish the video, I'll be putting this as a link onto our weekly email. So you can read, you can watch, you can do both. How about that? At any rate, thank you for remaining connected to us. It's an honor to be providing Pleasanton and the local environs with really good, thoughtfully chosen products, not just wine, other products. We're going to have a showing of another product or two today besides wine, so stay tuned. The ending of this video will be especially interesting, so watch through to the end, why don't you? At any rate, we don't sell these, do we? Why are they there? Why don't we tell you first about what we're doing? Well, what we're doing down in the cheese cooler. This just got supplemented, augmented. In other words, I told you last week about a cheese that was coming. I didn't get to show you that cheese yet, but here it is. This cheese has now arrived in time for St. Patrick's Day. It's not Irish cheese, but it is green. And tomorrow being St. Patrick's Day, we thought it was an appropriate time to launch this beautiful cheese called Sage Derby. It comes from Derbyshire in England. So sorry, it's not Irish, but you know, it looks extremely appropriate. It also looks a little scary, right? That color, nearly matching my shirt, makes you wonder if you're about to encounter a green-blue cheese. I love blue cheese. Not everybody does. This is no gorgonzola happening here, ladies and gentlemen. Unwrap this, chop it up, admire the beautiful color, and don't freak because it is mild in flavor. It's a semi-hard or... When is something semi-hard or semi-soft? Is that like a cup half empty? Or at any rate, I believe you would call this a semi-hard cheese. It's soft to the tooth. Al dente cheese. That is cow's milk, made in Derbyshire, England, and colored up with sage leaves. Some people don't like a lot of sage either. Well, there's not a lot of sage flavor here. In fact, if you didn't know sage was involved, you wouldn't equate it with this cheese. It's mild, buttery, nutty flavored cheese. Chop it up in cubes. Put it on your now much more well-appointed cheese board now that it's got this colorful and holiday appropriate cheese on there. And people will say, whoa, that's cool. And then try it and say, that's quite tasty. It's also one of our least expensive cheeses, ironically. Who knows why? Maybe they're aware that not everybody's going to pick up this strange looking cheese unless the price is right. At any rate, I've elaborated enough on a cheese I already talked about last week, except let's just say it's now here. Sage Derby cheese, isn't it pretty? It's very pretty. There it is. It's very holiday appropriate. Let's tell you about what we're doing on our wine bar this weekend. We have a really beautiful flight, which begins with the sparkling wine of the week. And that's the back of the bottle. There we go. That is Boletto. We have shown you other Boletto products. Their Pinot Gris appeared on the wine bar just a couple of weeks ago, and their Pinot Noir is sitting downstairs. I even bought, bravely, a little bit of their Syrah because it's gorgeous, and I want more and more of you to try good Syrah, all right? This is a bit of a risk as well, and so I only brought in a few bottles. It's a risk because it's not the least expensive sparkling wine we sell. It plays up there with the entry-level champagnes at $39.99, $35.99 for Wine Club members who are enjoying their discount. This tiny, tiny production Russian River sparkling wine can be yours. It's already mine, but I'll happily sell you some of mine. This is a Brut Rosé from Boletto from the Russian River. It uses 60% Pinot Noir, 40% Chardonnay. And why is it more expensive than many of their other products? Because it spent 5 years hanging around doing its second fermentation in individual bottles. In other words, méthode traditionnelle, or you could more inappropriately say, at least the people in Champagne would think it's inappropriate, you could say méthode champenoise. At any rate, that's when the second fermentation more expensively, more labor intensively occurs in the bottle with a crown cap on it before disgorgement, yada, yada, yada. But you've got a wine that is more beautiful based on all of that time on its lees. This is lovely stuff. So there's a reward. Yes, you have to pay for that reward, but there's a reward for waiting for 5 years for that wine to be disgorged and finally hit the market. And I urge you to try one of the best domestic rosés I've ever had. It does rival good entry level, at least, Rosé Champagne, Brut Rosé from Champagne, France. But we'll stop dropping the Champagne name and just say Boletto has nailed it here. I hope I am not buying just the 1 6-pack. And you can try it by the glass at the wine bar this weekend. I can try it right now because I want to. As you can see, I'm doing a Burgundy glass this time. That's one way to do really beautiful Burgundy varietal based sparkling wine or champagne. It's another, instead of the skinny flute, why not smell your bubbles? Very nice wine. At any rate, let's move on. I've said at any rate 4 times already, so that's out. No more of that. Let's tell you about the White Flight and get the label right out there in front of you. This is the beginning of the White Flight. This comes from Spain. We've shown it to you before. We are showing it again because, not just because we're heavy on inventory, but because we know everybody will like this, especially if the sun ever comes out. The sun's out today, but it's going to hide again in a couple days. So let's just get our minds right and anticipating a beautiful spring, if it should ever happen, when we are going to be enjoying this wine out on the back patio, especially when the summer hits. It's fish tacos and this Verdejo from north of Madrid, Spain. So this is beautiful, squeaky clean white wine that is vibrant and lively, and maybe it will make the sun come out if you drink enough of it. Let's see if we can invoke that. All right, next wine on the White Flight is a Soave Classico by a producer called Suavia. I don't know if that's ironic or, you know, they meant to do that, but the name of the producer is Suavia. They're making a Soave Classico here. This is gorgeous. It's 100% Garganega. Did you know Garganega, in a particular show, defeated Rodin and Monster X? Yes. No, I'm just bullshitting. Let's just move on, shall we? This is a delicious, also no oak white wine. Just a little more flesh on its bones than the Verdejo I just showed you. But we wine clubbed it. People have come back and bought more. So we thought, why not just keep propagating the love here? Because it's been proven to work at the wine store. You guys are buying a lot of that Suavia. Let's pour it again. We've also brought this up to the wine bar several times, put it in Spanish tasting events and such. And I visited this place back in September, so it's close to my heart. I've loved it for much longer than that. And Gran Bazan Albarino. This is from Galicia, Spain, the west coast of Spain, where they eat a lot of seafood and they make a lot of Albarino. Albarino is the white grape of the west coast, right on the Atlantic Ocean. Some of the vineyards look at the Atlantic of Spain. Gran Bazan Albarino. Beautiful, very antique looking bottle. I love it, and it's delicious. It's dry. I know you're afraid. Oh, wait, that bottle shape? It's going to be Riesling. No, it's not Riesling. It's not Riesling, I promise. This is freaking Riesling right here. This is from South Australia, and it's not the last wine in the flight because it isn't sweet. You know, you often start with a dry and end with sweet if you're going to have a sweet wine at all. Your expectation, your anticipation of a Riesling might be, oh, it's going to be sweet. No, it's not. It does have that petrol quality that you'll often get in a Mosel, Germany Riesling. The big difference is in the mouth. It is bone dry. This is from the Great Western region of Australia. Very vibrant, dry Riesling. And if you like sushi, you will like this. They should go together, all right? The final wine of the flight, also not sweet, but more flesh on its bones, is Gros Ventre. This is a domestic producer. I think we might have shown this wine once before. I know we brought their red upstairs. Their red is a blend, at least the red that we carry from them, is a blend of Pinot Noir and Gamay. Well, here's a wine that is based on the Chenin Blanc grape. The Chenin Blanc grape is, of course, the best grape in the world. You knew that, right? Chenin Blanc, 50%, and then a nice little hit of Grenache Blanc, and then there's some other players in here too, perhaps Arnais. At any rate, these guys make a different blend of this every year. This is their High Country Red, I think they call it. High Country White. It's not red. All right, I stayed up too late doing that Chile, Argentina event last night. My head's not straight. This is white wine called High Country White from Gros Ventre, Chenin Blanc based, dry and yet beautiful fruit. Very caressing palate feel, and that's why it is the final wine of the White Flight. Let's tell you now about a wine that you can order by the glass. I've already told you about it in an email, but I'm going to represent this wine once again in today's email because you guys who like sexy cult-style Pinot Noir, what is cult-style Pinot Noir? Well, cult-style Pinot Noir implies, or even cult-style wine, hard to get, high quality, generally a more generous palate feel, a more sexy style of wine. That happens here in this Guarachi wine. This is from above Gap's Crown Vineyard, which is slightly more famous than Sanchez Vineyard. Guarachi actually owns Sanchez He sells his fruit, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, to many, many other eager buyers, and then he keeps some to make this. This is 2017, so this came out of the library. In other words, they're probably on a 19 or 20 vintage of this now, and we were able to access Guarachi's so-called library inventory in order to taste several things, and we settled on this. This wine is in a beautiful prime time situation in its life right now. I think you could age it for another couple of years, but you simply do not have to. It is now so impressive. It's not evasive, it's not slight, it's not that delicate Pinot Noir style that we're often touting. It is instead more generous, but it's generosity done very, very, very well. And I think you can pour this for your friends, even friends who don't get into Pinot Noir. They're going to say, holy shit, this is good. So this is sexy, cult-style Pinot Noir, of which we bought the rest. This is ours now. We own all of the Guarachi 2017 Sunchase Vineyard Pinot Noir. And if you buy 4 bottles of it, we will give you a better price. So read that email and you'll see the terms, all right? While we still have this wine, I think we bought about 6 cases. That's all there was left of this beauty. We've already sold several. So get in. This is sexy. The reason why I'm talking about it is because we are, in fact, offering it by the glass. It's not the least expensive glass of wine on the menu, but it's beautiful, beautiful wine. Meant to cost about $90. We have it for less, and the glass could be your way into falling in love with this beautiful Pinot Noir from the Petaluma Gap. Petaluma Gap, in fact, this is the very first vintage when Petaluma Gap can appear on a bottle of Pinot Noir. The AVA, American Viticultural Area, was created, basically officialized, approved of, for that vintage, 2017. So it's kind of cool. All right, Red Wine Flight, here we go. Red Wine Flight begins with Domaine Amido. Our friend Tom Switzer sells us this. Charles Neal, another friend, imports it. Sometimes we get Tom and Charles upstairs to do a presentation of great Charles Neal imports. Without them here, we can still show their wine, right? So this is Domaine Amido. They are located in Lirac, which is across the river from Châteauneuf-du-Pape, across the Rhone River, of course. And this is going to be from Sinargues, which is a little below Lirac, and it's a Côte-du-Rhône village. So it's not a Lirac. That wine would cost you a little bit more from them. This is their entry-level wine. It's going to our entry-level wine club this month, as a matter of fact. And in the meantime, we bought extra so we could show it to you up here at the wine bar. This is your classic GSM, no oak. It's not necessary for a GSM. The fruit is so beautiful and impactful. Who needs a barrel? It is. It deserves to be unembellished by wood and oxidation. So Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre from Domaine Amido starts off our flight. And we're going to stay over in Europe and do something a little less fruit forward, but truly correct. Let's say that. This is Collematoni Rosso di Montalcino, and it is the baby brother to the Brunello di Montalcino, and it has to be, by local wine law, 100% Sangiovese. You can kind of tell by the label design that this won't be the most fruit-forward example of Rosso di Montalcino, that it might be more classical. What do we mean by that? A little lower in alcohol. The fruit is there, but a more classical wine will include the savories. Classical wine allows the savory qualities to show as well. What do we mean by savories? Anything that's not fruit. So when we say like sottobosco or the underbrush qualities that can happen in a Tuscan Sangiovese, they happen here, and so on. Beautiful, beautiful wine. Correct. The blood of Jove Sangiovese is showing beautifully here in this wine that is now going to the World Class Wine Club this month, as a matter of fact. So we wanted our staff to try it. We wanted you wine club members to have a crack at it as well. And then we want you to have this. This is, in fact, going to our Pacific Coast Wine Club this month. This is called High on the Hog. It's kind of a second label for a very good producer down in Paso Robles named McPrice Myers. That's the dude's name, and that's the flagship brand. And then he's got this series of wines that are about 21, 22, 23 bucks. Of which this is one member. High on the Hog is back to that GSM thing. This is Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. I think there's actually a little bit of Lagrein in here too. Stay tuned for those wine club notes. Do you wine club members read your notes? You will know more about these wines. You will know better how to approach the wines we give you. These wines that you've often never heard of before are really helped by the notes. They kind of calibrate you and have you anticipating what style of wine you're about to uncork, and also maybe running for a cookbook to cook the appropriate thing for that wine. So please be thoughtful, wine club members. Read your notes that I haven't even written yet. High on the Hog, Paso Robles, kind of a GSM-ish wine, all right? The next beautiful wine is a Rioja. It's not the first time nor the last time that this has appeared on our wine bar. I happen to have an open bottle of it right here. This has been open all night long. I want to see how this Rioja held up. The fact is, when we visited this particular producer back in September, they opened a 2000 vintage of this. Yes, a almost 23-year-old version of this same Reserva. It was gorgeous. It had been kept very, very well in a cool place. The label had just totally rotted off, but the winemaker had thoughtfully remembered to use like a white ink pen and identify the vintage on top before the label rotted away. That wine was so nice, and it taught me that, well, once again, I've already learned this lesson, but it was a great lesson relearned, that beautiful Rioja, even at this nice price, it's not overly expensive wine, can, in certain great vintages, in the hands of certain producers from certain great vineyards, make very beautiful wine that and ageable, developable wine. Is that a word? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah, no spit bucket. One way to know if a wine will age well, at least it's one of my indicators, is if you are coming to a wine maybe even 2 days later that you started drinking 2 days ago, and it's already killing it. In fact, maybe it's even better. You're giving it false age by all that abusive oxidation, and that you've just learned that wine, which is rare, is actually ageable, because most wines are really made to be drunk now and soon. But good Rioja, the classical style of Rioja, this is it, guys. The final wine on the flight brings us much closer to home. In fact, the Livermore Valley, it's not from Livermore Valley fruit, but it uses Livermore Valley winemaking. And this is by Tony and Jen Deluman out there at Madison Vineyards. Madison's their beautiful daughter's name, and so they decided to name the winery after them, her. And this is kind of their launchpad wine. They are making a Napa Valley Cabernet here. It's a multi-vintage. It uses some 20 and some, I think, 21 or 19. Or at any rate, that's the only reason why you don't see a vintage on this very beautiful label. But we have tested this at the wine bar already. It has already been reordered because the test proved that you guys really like this cab. So, and we really like to work locally with good people. Pretty soon you're going to see Rhone varietals coming from those guys, and that's where I'm really going to get excited about Madison Vineyard because, well, of course I like Rhone varietals, but I especially want to show some local stuff that I'm very, very proud to sell, and that's about to come. So in the meantime, get to know Madison via their so-called launchpad or, you know, their first wine out on the market, at least our market. So Madison Vineyards Cabernet, gorgeous stuff, very mild-mannered Cabernet. I love it. Having said all that, I must prepare myself to show you one more product. It's not a bottle of wine. It's not a piece of cheese. It is something just, which I would care to, I don't know. You guys can pick it up without wearing these, but, you know, this is part of the drama. We were recently offered some decanters that Riedel, the great producer of stemware and decanters and all things beautiful glass and lovely design, they offered us some decanters, and there were 7 left on the market. For some stupid reason, they're discontinuing this particular style. And there were 7. I said, I'll take them all. I saw a picture. I couldn't really understand, based on the picture that I'm seeing on my screen, exactly what shape the thing is. But, you know, the price was nice. You know, Riedel decanters are gorgeous, but they're expensive. So I thought, well, you know, let's get a deal here. Send me all 7. By the time the email got to my rep, there were only 3 left. So 3 of these got here. Three of these got here. And now I'm properly, I feel pretty good now about handling this. Let's get it out in front of you. Now, we as a wine shop, as a retailer, try to take care of all your fascinations. And there's a lot of preferences out there. We say, here, try this to that person. And not all of you will want to try this, but a few of you, maybe hopefully 3 of you, will want to try this for decanting your wine. There it is. That's a beautiful decanter, isn't it? It's gorgeous. Let's give it a backdrop. Just how do I even describe this any further? I think it's best to not say anything. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and I do have 3 of these.